I'm Mark Miller, the forum chairperson. George Bledsoe takes care of the technology. We do have a need for somebody who could be available. I know a little bit about the technology, but there are times when I'm not going to be here. There might be times when George gets sick or whatever. And so we really need some backup. And if there's somebody would be willing to do that and work with George and myself, that would be very helpful. Next week, Milwaukee Teacher Education Association speaker will be here. The topic will be public education and social justice organizing. So that will be next week's topic. So without further ado, we're going to have Dennis speak.
Thank you. So good morning, Hamlinians.
Good morning. You're not close enough to the microphone.
Oh, if I'm not closer to the microphone, I will be eating the microphone. So if I lean forward.
It's this one for the room.
Oh, right. You know, I love the room, but I must tell you, speaking in the room is a different matter. Okay, can we hear me? Boy, this is hard, but we'll manage. I use the word Hamletians because of this slide here from Hamlet. And if you're familiar with Hamlet, Hamlet's great quest was to go after an evil, ambitious king called Claudius. So we are here today, actually, allegorically, as going after our own Claudius here in the state of Wisconsin, in a Hamletian background. Now, you can see why it's difficult to speak here. Right. Oh, yes. Thank you. You can put it down to this. So my leg has just been tied now, and I'm getting as close as I can to the microphone, so I think this is going to work. I mentioned Hamlet, as I mentioned a moment ago, because I also want to mention a poet named Elizabeth Bishop, and we'll get to Elizabeth Bishop a little later on, as we will to the philosopher and theologian Reinhold Niebuhr. So I begin with a play, I will proceed with a philosopher, and I will also introduce Elizabeth Bishop as a poet. Now, I don't have any idea what this is. Oh, there we go, okay. So, Timothy Snyder, as you may know, has written a wonderful book called On Tyranny. And in the book On Tyranny, he cautions us to be careful of what he calls a politics of inevitability, meaning that we were frankly a little caught off guard. When Biden became president and Trump performed so poorly, we assumed that history would move on our behalf in a liberal direction. We know that didn't happen. That history was largely ignored. And Donald Trump, incidentally, was frustrated by this, but He is no longer frustrated. Our Claudius here in the United States is now the authoritarian dictator of these 6 categories, which represent the authority that he now exercises over our governance. I briefly take them one at a time. This is the executive orders that Trump has issued, and this slide represents the 212 executive orders through November that he has issued. And as November 2025, more than 530 legal challenges to the Trump administration's action are now pending. That's important for this reason. We ought not to make premature judgments about what the Trump administration will ultimately do. Some of these decisions will be modified, some will be changed, some may be reversed in the favor of democracy as opposed to authoritarian governance. But nonetheless, as you can see, this is a very complicated but important set of judgments that will be made. The other area where Trump obviously maintains considerable authority is that he is immune from absolute criminal activity. And because of that, he has the kind of concern that is represented by Justice Sotomayor. And as you can see, she's not ambivalent about this issue. She makes it very clear that that immunity has opened the door to the kind of authoritarian behavior and dictatorship that Trump brings to this administration. And then let's talk a bit about John Roberts. Roberts is really, it's complicated to try and determine what impact Roberts has on the decisions that are made. As you can see, there is a division of opinion. Some feel that his decisions on behalf of expanding Trump's executive authority were about 85% of the time. Some people think it was 50% of the time. On the bottom, we can be a little more certain about 23 decisions that were made, and 20 were ruled in favor of the administration, 3 are ruled against it, and 7 were not accompanied by any written explanation. So this is complicated if you're going to make a judgment about the Roberts Court, but I think there is a large school of opinion that is represented here by Peter Shane, and it's a viewpoint that is shared by many legal scholars and many judges, that Roberts has cemented his reputation as the chief judge, as a Republican and a conservative partisan. Incidentally, as we talk about court cases and the complexity of how they move through a very complicated system of courts in our country, we have a scholar here in the audience, Walt Kelly, who's very well versed on these matters. And if Walt has time afterwards, perhaps to take some questions, I think you might find his viewpoint and his knowledge very valuable. So the independent agency in our government we're supposed to be managed and governed independently as part of our balance of power in our system. But these 15 agencies are, or I should say 58 agencies, are really under the influence now of Trump's administration, as I will speak about in a moment. These are the 15 executive agencies. I quite understand that difference. There are 58 independent agencies that are governed by Congress in a separation of powers format. These are the 15 agencies that are directly controlled by Trump. And these are the agencies that are responsible for the infamous weaponizing that is now part of the activity of the Justice Department, the Homeland Security Department, and the Education Department. I have a question for you. How many of you know who Robert Voigt is?
Robert who?
Robert Voigt. Excuse me, Russell Voigt. Russell.
Oh, yeah.
Robert is his brother. No. Russell Voigt, how many? Oh, a good number. Well, what you ought to know is that Russell Voigt is perhaps the ultimate power and authority within the administration of Donald Trump. And these are the agencies in which he controls, and these are the weaponizing activities of those 15 agencies. Voigt, which is pronounced vote, has a very clear reputation. You can see the first one, which is kind of non-judgmental, but the latter one is one of the most direct and explicit descriptions of one's personality I've ever seen. It's very clear that what he intends to do is to largely overtake and strip the budgets, the authority, the program formats of agencies throughout the government. And he heads up the Office of Management and Budget, and in that capacity, as I indicated, he has enormous authority. You may want to briefly describe that, but it's very clear that Voigt is one of the three people who now control Trump's authoritarian aspirations. And who are those three? Trump,
Stephen Miller.
Voigt, Roberts, and all right, Stephen Miller, you can throw him in. But my top three are the three that control this administration and will determine the fate of democracy in the next 2 years and into 2028. To give you some idea of the power that vote has that gives you an illustration of the number of agencies whose budget has been drastically cut. These are very, very significant research and development agencies, and this kind of reduction that one man can make with all of these agencies is unprecedented. It gives you some idea of his power and some idea of how he's going to be at the center of Trump's efforts to establish an authoritarian governance. I turn again to Hamlet, again to suggest that our efforts to deal with Trump's authoritarian behavior begins with Hamlet's charge to get it right, born to set it right. The word born to set it right in Shakespearean language means to take full responsibility. So we begin with Hamptonian responsibility, and then Bishop offers us a different way to proceed, another way to proceed. We start with Hamlet's will. Bishop offers us confidence. The confidence to proceed into a disaster with the knowledge that it can be mastered. And it can be mastered with incremental change and pragmatic thinking. So Hamlet brings forward will, Bishop brings forward confidence, and the philosopher and theologian Reinhold Niebuhr brings a way to proceed. His very iconic passage dealing with philosophical thought and decision-making appears in many different languages, but it represents the same viewpoint of wisdom, to change what can be changed, to acknowledge what cannot be changed, and to understand the difference between one and the other. So, this is the art of losing.
That's not going to help. That's for the people at home. The small mic is the only one that matters.
Yeah,
This
right.
is the one. This is off right now for some reason.
Ah.
That mic is off. It's not gonna happen.
So not only is my leg tied, but my mic is off. Well, mainly, I'll continue to talk. If people can hear me, with my voice is very large, I can try to do that. I go forward with a couple of slides which talk.
It won't do any good until we get that mic working. Where's the code for this one? Oh, here it is.
Well, I'll be leaving shortly, and
This is the issue right here.
yeah. Well, I wonder what will happen if I try to speak this loud. Well, then I will speak this loud. This slide and with the kind of advocacy that groups and organizations are making throughout the country. Driven, I should say, let me go back to this other slide if I can. Yeah, I can. Good, good. Yeah. Driven by, among other things, the question of bonding and the bonding we gain from each other. The kind of bonding that took place, of course, during the No King's March, the kind of bonding that takes place at the Jericho Walk, where my wife Deborah and Kathy Rivera participate, the kind of bonding that takes place within various community organizations, and the kind of bonding that takes place perhaps next to the person you're sitting to. All of that bonding in a time of crisis and disappointment as a source of strength, along with the clear advocacy that we get from the various national organizations and local organizations. Many local organizations are supported by people in this room, and it represents one response together with bonding that makes it possible to identify what can and cannot be done during these 2 years in which Trump will remain president. So this is kind of a dialectical way to talk about what is taking place. Dialectical in the sense of dealing with an exchange of circumstances and information that creates and recreates various cooperative arrangements in order to proceed with creative pragmatism. So this dialectic Niebuhrian chart here is a good way to think about what I'm trying to talk about. Now, this is what concerns me. And I wonder, as you look at this slide, whether it might concern you. What ultimate concern have I not yet talked about? What kind of an outcome is so essential? Any thoughts about that from anyone? Well,
the ultimate concern is protection of democracy.
Right. What I have in a slide right now, is what I'm trying to identify as an ultimate concern. It's the right to vote and making certain people vote. And the issue that's going to confront us in this election, as David Graham points out in this last sentence, he raises a question that I think could very well be imminent. Namely that in order to limit the number of people who vote in critical areas, Trump may very well be willing to use the military. He may very well be use the federal ICE agents who have made life difficult for many citizens in this country, have created chaos in many communities. That's what concerns me as an ultimate concern. That's an outcome that I think we all need to consider. If we don't vote, if we don't get people to the polls in critical areas, that will be a catastrophe. So what I would like to do now is kind of engage in a conversation about your own thoughts about the problem of voting, other problems and barriers that you think will limit the number of people who vote. I think this weaponizing is so important. In my own mind, I visualize, for instance, agents in uniform with masks on, sitting outside of election areas, and brown people approaching. Brown people approaching. Or more important, brown people who decide not to go to the polls because they fear what they see in front of those polling places. Men in military uniforms and masks. That's a problem. It could be a very significant problem, in my judgment. So give me your own concerns, not only about the voting issue that I raised here, but that other issues that may have surfaced during my remarks. And if you raise your hands, I'll repeat the question so people can hear it. Yes, go ahead. Is it Dennis? Yeah.
More particularly, men in military masks in democratic cities. I don't think we're going to see masked men in the strong Republican areas. And what Trump is setting up now is, under the pretense of the violence in the cities, sending in the National Guard, and they happen to be all cities controlled by Democrats. So maybe we should make some distinctions.
So did everyone hear that? Yeah, right. He's making a distinction between cities that have a Republican vote and cities that are likely to have a Democrat vote, and the military people that I've described, from the ICE agents, for instance, are going to be located obviously and tactically in those areas where there is a larger Democratic vote that they would like to suppress. Yes, Walt.
Dennis, that you are touching on the most crucial issue, because what the Supreme Court has done up until now has been rather vague and ambiguous in certain areas. But now, with the great big beautiful bill having clarified the power of ICE and having multiplied the number of ICE agents, and as this gentleman remarked, with the focus on blue states and blue cities, those matters are now imminent, because the tactic is ICE engages in tactics that arouse the citizenry. That then becomes an excuse for Trump to say, oh, ICE needs protection, let's send in the National Guard. And in those democratic states and cities, because of the prerogatives of democratic governors, there's been a lot of resistance to that. Those cases are now, one of them is from Illinois and Chicago, is actually on the Supreme Court docket. And so we hear a lot of attention being given, for example, to tariffs. Tariffs, of course, are important. And Trump's power grab in the area of tariffs is being considered, and I don't think he's going to prevail in that. But this one, the issue of allowing military intervention, is where the rubber hits the road with the U.S. Supreme Court.
There's no more connections. This is straight.
Yeah, it's a powerful thought and well stated, Walt.
Let me do one more thing here, and let's see if we can help with this.
And I just add one more thought. Just remember, the Supreme Court, the old saying is the Supreme Court follows the election returns. The best thing that's happened in the last few months happened on November 4th. With us coast to coast.
Yeah.
And that's a real testament to the people of this country.
Yeah.
And that's where the strength for this may come from.
Yes. Yes, David.
I agree with what Walter just said, and I'm very glad that he pointed out how in Virginia
Is there a
and
connection
New
there?
Jersey and indirectly in Pennsylvania election, keeping those judges on the Supreme Court, there was a shift. What's important to understand, if some of you looked at the charts, is that the shift towards cities controlled by Democrats. It
I
was
wonder
the
if
rural
we
towns.
connect a
I
different
grew
mic.
up in Central Pennsylvania before coming to Milwaukee.
was working earlier, so.
It wasn't just where Penn State University was, that my dad taught. It was all the counties surrounding it.
Wonder if
Counties
we
that
take this
overwhelmingly
connection
voted
apart
for Trump.
and put a mic in it.
They continued to vote in some places in Virginia and New Jersey for the Republican candidate, but less so than had happened in the election where Trump had tariffs. They voted more for the Democrat
Sunday.
and less for the Republican. In Pennsylvania, they voted, let's not throw out those judges. So the question is, to get to those trends and patterns, which would be harder for even a militarized National Guard to overcome if it happens all across, not just in
Yeah.
New York, and
Yeah.
not just in a few cities. How do we get to that?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
key thing that changed why voters voted the way they did is a word that hasn't been mentioned yet. Two words: economic security, affordability. The public is, a lot of people, Democrats and independents and Republicans, are upset about not having enough work, not having stability, not having enough earnings, not being able to afford childcare, healthcare, and education, and housing.
Oh, yes, David.
That needs to be the focus in order to get the votes to move in the right direction, in order to overcome any threat, either implicit or actual, of trying to mess up the elections.
So, questions here, Elizabeth?
Aside from having the Army.
Can you stand and speak very loudly, please?
Aside from having the Army or whatever at the polling places, I worry about them getting into the computers and distorting the vote. But what I really want to ask you is, when we have the military there, how do we as a citizenry oppose? Can we stand alongside the line there somehow, support the voter? We've got to do something. We cannot sit back and say, go ahead. First of all, why are they wearing masks? We have no idea if these people are patriot boys or if they're really agents of the government. That's right.
Before anyone responds, I need to thank two people. Bill Hollahan was very, very helpful to me in developing these slides. And you remember, Elizabeth, that you gave me direction on the book on tyranny. You brought it to my attention, and I use it as a base for part of my conversation. I thank you for that. Michael, you wanted to say something? Yeah.
Dennis's point on the art of possibility and organizations that are working towards the things that Elizabeth is talking about is the First Church of, the First University.
First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee.
Thank you. Where we are right now. I depend on my wife so much. A week from today, in this very hall, our senior minister, Reverend Jennifer, will be leading Faith and Justice Nonviolent Resistance, talking about what are the red lines, what are the things that are unacceptable, in which we will, yes, we will vote, but we will also take to the streets, and we will reform this democracy. If you are interested in participating in Reverend Jennifer's revival of organization, again, right here, a week from today, 12:30, in true Unitarian fashion, we will start with snacks. Yes, there will be snacks, and then she will start leading us at 1 o'clock. If you would like to register for this event, you can do it downstairs at the social justice table. You can sign up here, and also in the most recent newsletter, the electronic newsletter, you can register there. So I urge you to take your knowledge and your desire for a democracy to come back here in 1 week, and you can participate as the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee becomes one of those groups of the possibility. That's just a little statement.
You know, I'd like to respond that one one reason that Elizabeth Bishop in her poem tells us we must not be overcome by disaster. We can master. Part of our responsibilities is because of people like Michael Punter-Mates. He really is the epitome of the organizer and advocate, not only here but elsewhere in the city. Yes, please. Yes, Jan.
So,
Oh, okay.
I'm concerned about the use of the military in suppressing the vote, and there may be many ways in which voter suppression may occur, you know, the gerrymandering in Texas and in California fighting back. I'll give you one small example of where the Republicans can argue, we just want to keep, quote, illegals, i.e. undocumented people from voting, so why do you have any problem with it? Well, here's a problem that can happen. You know, I'm currently teaching citizenship classes. Many of the students I have undocumented spouses or live-in partners. So if these citizens show up to vote and ICE detains them, ICE may try to get information about anyone they know that's undocumented, and that will prevent them from voting.
Mm-hmm.
Because although, you know, the Republicans say, look, if they're citizens, they should be allowed to vote. No, if they show up at the polls and ICE finds out about someone who is undocumented, who they know who lives in their household,
Sure.
that's going to
Yeah.
discourage the vote. And there are so many examples, but that's just one small example.
Yes. Yes, Liz.
I just wanted to add that I think the whole threat of military presence at the polls explains Trump's opposition to voting by mail. It's a
Yeah.
workaround.
Sure,
It's a
it
long
is.
workaround.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, Desiree.
Good morning, everybody. One thing I want to suggest, if you are worried about protecting election integrity, is become an election inspector. Become a poll worker. It is inspiring, it is exciting, it is basically reassuring about the integrity of the process too, because if people of goodwill show up and actually help people register to vote, get through the voting process, if you're bilingual like me, you are very much in need, because that way you can help people understand the process when they're there to vote. And that's super exciting. If you ever want to talk about being an election inspector, talk to me, I'll help you.
Yes, Deborah.
I want to second what Desiree just said about being an election inspector. I've done it for years. And I think inside the voting room is very, very safe, and because you're dealing with people who are very well trained. My concern is the people outside. I have a good friend who just returned from Washington. She was there for 4 days, and she saw the National Guard everywhere. They were friendly, they were helpful. The normalizing of the military in cities and near election places is what concerns me. It's using good people in the military to do dirty deeds.
Yeah. Yeah, very good, Deborah. Indeed. Yes, Margot.
Another threat is also the ruling of the Supreme Court that people of color, people can be detained on how they look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a problem at the polls.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Oh.
All these things that people are talking about are very important, of course. Underlying issues that I think are also important are the partisan gerrymandering, money in politics, and Citizens United. Those are kind of older issues, although the gerrymandering is going on now, but those are other issues that I think are also very important.
All right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, they are. Yes, Walt again.
Dennis, I don't think we are quite there yet, but I think on the near horizon is going to arise the question of direct resistance
Yes.
That will be part of next Sunday, right here. If you want to organize around that, come next Sunday.
Yeah. Yes, Dennis.
I think what will set the stage for the foundational elements that we're thinking about is this Ken Burns series on the American Revolution. Starts tonight, I think, channel 10.1, 7 o'clock, goes the whole week. And it ends with some statement about Alexander Hamilton basically describing his fear of what could happen, and he basically is describing Trump. So I'm really looking forward to the series, and it addresses in some way the issue of diversity and so on, and looking at the shadow of American side. I've heard Ken Burns interviewed a couple times about this, but that last statement is what could get him.
Yes. Yes, Lizzie.
One more thing, it's not just that Russell Vogt wants the federal workforce to be depressed and traumatized. They want all of us to feel hopeless and powerless. Don't let them do that.
Yes.
I would like to gently challenge the assumption that the military presence will be just in blue big cities. When you think about how the vote just occurred, a lot of the shifting of voting is happening in red areas where the military presence would be much more welcome. So I don't know, but I think you'd want to look at where are brown people living in Wisconsin, and that would be a prime area, because they'll figure that out. You know, maybe it's around Wausau.
Yeah.
It might not just be here. And personally, I'm trying to decide how to spend my time. I used to, go around to people in Milwaukee and Charlotte, and I'd like to figure out a way to go to Waukesha County or someplace where, it might be more meaningful. And I don't know if other people are thinking like that, but I hope we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah. That's right behind you.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, you started by questioning whether or not brown people are going to be afraid of going to the polls, and I'm wondering, is there a way to organize accompanying brown people who are afraid or who might be worrying about it, and I don't know if that's a thing that can be done.
Yes. Another question that you should be picking up on, Michael. And yes, by all means.
Yeah, it's the people who need to organize that, though. That's how it will happen, if we organize. Solstice polls is a great
let me just see.
example. If you've ever followed their lead. Yep.
Yes, Walt.
Dennis, just a quick follow-up comment made by a gentleman over here. Last night from 10 until 11 on PBS, there was Nicole Wallace on her show, did an hour-long interview with Ken Burns. It's terrific.
Yeah.
And you may be able to get it still. It may be available, and it's well worth spending the hour with the marvelous Ken Burns.
Yes. Yeah, marvelous indeed. Anything further from, yes, Sally?
I just want to say, one of the slides near the end was the slide of things that can be done to bring us together, to give us courage. And one of the words in there was creativity, imagination. And I also think how we shouldn't lose sight of that aspect of success, because things that
Yes, Fred?
We kind of swayed a little bit towards practical solutions or responses, which is good. I think so. Mine is not that. It's throwing a little bit of a worry again about the use of the military. I thought that, I've been encouraged by the No Kings rallies. Was it back in June, and then recently, about a month ago? They say 7 million people across the country, I don't know. But I noted how Mike Johnson reacted to it, that he gave a public reaction to it, so there was concern.
Who is this?
Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House.
Oh, right.
Trump, anyway, so they've been noticing this, and I was thinking, again, this is a worry without a solution to it, that as we hopefully hold more such rallies, I was even concerned last time that there might be a shooting someplace nationally. Somebody might drive a car, and that would be a great opportunity for Trump to use the military and to say that he's keeping the country safe by using the military and taking a step toward more authoritarianism.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sit back and think about this. Meditate on it.
Dan, go right ahead.
Think about what's going on and kind of meditate on it. I get the sense that we're fighting fear and hate. That's really what we're fighting. When you have men dressed in black, wearing masks, tearing submachine guns, you can't, and accountable to no one, and unidentifiable, you can't underestimate the power of that. And I think we can't be tricked into hating and Trump's followers and other people. We can only meet them with love and nonviolence. There's got to be another way to deal with this. I think we can, it'll come about. We can make it be born, but we have to do it right. We can't be tricked into using their tactics, because we will lose if we try to fight them with violence.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. There is an 11 o'clock service, incidentally, so people who want to leave should, of course, feel free to do so right now. So are there any other questions at this point? Yeah, Dennis, go ahead. Who did, Dennis? Oh.
Repeat the question.
Yes.
Quiet.
Let's wait for a moment for people to leave. All right, we might continue if there's any reason to continue. Are there further comments or thoughts that people might have? Yes?
I was saying that PBS program Firing Line, Margaret Woodward, who's pretty conservative, interviewed Ken Burns, and she really put it to him about the last statement in his series of films about basically not too thinly disguised critique of Trump at the end. But one more thing, and I mentioned in one of the forums before, that those massive demonstrations, anti-war demonstrations they had in October, I can't remember what year, but it really changed Nixon's mind. He was going to make some decision in December or November, I think, about dropping an atomic bomb in North Vietnam or something that was really serious. And because of the massive demonstrations, apparently it caused him to change his mind. So I always keep that in mind when we talk about organizing and just getting out there and marching one more.
Yes, yes, right. I'm tempted to say we ought to conclude the meeting unless others want to continue. If there's important questions or thoughts, by all means.
So do we have a subsequent meeting set up for next week?
If you'd like to sign up, you can sign up over here and register for next week. Is that the question?
I'm not certain, yeah.
You still can.
All right, well, in any event, thank you, everyone. Yeah.